Good morning, Rocky River High School, and welcome to the 2021-22 school year. Today's class meeting will cover some very important items, and then after this meeting concludes, you will watch a active shooter refresher video for part of our safety training. Today's agenda consists of introductions of administrative and counseling staff, and we do have some new members of each of those teams. A school safety refresher, keys to a successful school year, student expectations and policies, a brief counseling update, and a brief athletics update. The high school administration consists of myself. I'm Rob Witten, the principal, and I'm heading into my 7th year here at Rocky River. Miss Miranda Lobus is our new assistant principal, and she deals with students' last names A through K. Mr. Brian Gergley is assistant principal dealing with students' last names L through Z. And Mr. Mark Wagner is our director of athletics and activities. If you have questions about anything related to school policy, athletics, activities, please see one of us and we'd be happy to assist you. Our counseling staff consists of Mr. Jeff Petrulis. He is a counselor who deals with students' last names A through G. Miss Sarah Blatnick, counselor dealing with students' last names H through O. Miss Blatnick replaces Miss Ponticos, so she is new this year as well. Miss Candace McMahon, counselor last names P through Z, and also located in the counseling office is School Resource Officer Mike Bernhardt. So if you need anything regarding schedule changing or schedule changes, all the way down to social emotional support, or if you need to report something, you can also stop in the counseling office and speak with any of those individuals. Perhaps the most important thing we do here at Rocky River High School is ensuring a safe and secure learning environment for students and staff. And today, the umbrella of school safety will focus on the 3 bullet points you see on screen. So I'll start first with social media. Social media is very beneficial when used correctly, but it can also be used inappropriately as well. So when it comes to any school safety type threats or anything of that regard, a lot of times people who commit these threats tell people first, and one of the avenues they do that is by posting stuff on social media. So if you see anything alarming on social media regarding our school operations, you can contact me directly, and I'd be happy to work with you and follow up on that. In addition, when you are yourselves using social media, be very careful what you're posting, because colleges and employers are now going through people's social media histories to determine if they should admit them to their school or hire them for a certain job. So a good way to look at this is, if you were going to post something now, would you regret it 10 years from now? And if you think you might, then don't do it. So just be careful what you're putting out there. It stays out there forever, regardless of what platform you're on, and regardless of whether the posts are permanent or they disappear in a certain amount of time. They are all archived and they are all retrievable. So be very, very cognizant of what you're putting out social media. There are 3 main drills that you will be participating in throughout your tenure at Rocky River High School. Fire drills, everyone knows about those. You've been doing those your whole life. Same thing with tornado drills. We have a few of those per year. And then active shooter drills as well. We do that a couple times a year also. You should be familiar with all of them, but we will go through an active shooter video after this presentation, and then we will also follow up with you in the future prior to drills. In the event that you would need to evacuate the building, and we haven't had to in recent memory, but if you ever needed to, our main evacuation site is St. Christopher, and our backup evacuation site is St. Thomas. This information was sent to all of your parents earlier this month, so they are aware of that as well. All right, moving on. Keys to a successful school year. If you're moving into your senior year and you're focused on transitioning to college, you've probably already employed all of these things that are bullet pointed. However, if you're new to the building or if you're a freshman, a couple things to really keep in mind. You want to have a disciplined mindset at the high school. The classes are going to be more difficult than they were at the middle school level. The pace is going to be a little faster, but we have a great and very supportive teaching staff, and they're here for you and here to help you. They're going to push you hard academically, and we all have high expectations, but we also care about you and we want you to have a good time. Really focus on your academic achievement. Grades in high school count. They go on your transcripts. Transcripts follow you to college. And this is when things become serious. You know, if you're moving into your junior or senior year, you already realize the ramifications of this and you understand how important it is to focus on your academics. Academics come first at Rocky River High School, and we really stress that. One of the biggest things that you can do personally is come to school. If you come to school, you will be more successful than people that don't come to school. This seems self-evident. I agree. However, all the research that's been done in this area suggests the highest chance of success in high school is whether you attend school regularly or not. So we will be monitoring that very closely as well. Also, make sure that you are exhibiting proper and appropriate behavior in school and at school events. Lastly, we want you to have fun and enjoy your high school experience. That's really important as well. Student expectations. You'll see this mantra of respect, responsibility, caring, and safety throughout our district in each of our buildings. Essentially, what we want you to do is treat other people how you would want to be treated yourselves. And if you can kind of follow the golden rule with that, you should be fine. Code of conduct. The code of conduct applies to and from school, so on school buses, things of that sort, on all of our properties and at all school trips, clubs, and activities. Just keep that in mind as well. Some policy updates regarding the importance that we are placing on attendance this year. Tardies come into play a lot, and so do class cuts. If you're not familiar with what a tardy is, it just means you showed up late to school or you came to class late. So it's really important that you get here every day on time. The first 3 tardies result in you just having a conversation with Mr. Grugli or Ms. Lobus, and it'll just be warnings. But the 4th ones and beyond will start to result in progressive discipline. So you want to avoid that. So please just get to school on time. Class cuts. Each class cut results in 3 after-school detentions. We're going to be monitoring that very closely as well this year. So please make sure that you're going to class each and every day. Regarding how discipline works within the high school, we do follow traditional discipline approaches. So that would mean anything from after-school detentions to out-of-school suspensions. However, we try to work with students and meet them where they are. And that's where progressive discipline, restorative practices, and loss of privileges come into play. What progressive discipline means would be you get a warning and it progresses from there if you keep if the behavior doesn't correct itself. However, it doesn't always apply to every situation depending on the severity of the situation. So sometimes we might jump to a higher level of discipline regarding the specific scenario of the discipline infraction. Restorative practices are simply getting 2 parties together that are having a difficult time getting along and trying to work it out before a problem escalates. So we do that a lot as well. And the last thing you might see happen is loss of privileges. What does that mean? That means you might lose the ability to drive to school if you're not maintaining high enough grades or coming to school like you should be. You might lose the ability to attend events or dances. You might lose option privilege if you're junior or senior. So as long as you're coming to school, you're behaving, you're doing what you're supposed to, and you're getting decent grades, you shouldn't have any issues with loss of privileges, but it is something that we do utilize from time to time. All right, so I just covered a general discipline policy for the entire building. However, each classroom teacher makes their own set of classroom rules, and the administration will support the staff in all the code of conduct areas. You may have some teachers that do not allow you to use cell phones. You may have some that do, depending on how the class is structured. You need to understand how each teacher's classroom works, and you need to follow their specific rules and guidelines. Okay, our counseling updates. All the schedules are set. You must be taking a minimum of 5 1-credit classes to be a full-time student and to be eligible for athletics and activities. 1-credit classes consist of the majority of classes in the building with the exception of a few, such as physical education classes, which are only a quarter credit. So if you have 4 core classes in a physical education class, you are not taking a minimum of 5 classes. But our counselors are here to make sure that everyone is taking the appropriate amount of credits. And if you have questions about your schedule, you can see them. Making appointments with your counselor or setting up counselor meetings is very easy to do. You can stop in the office and talk to Ms. France. She's the counseling secretary. You can also email your counselors and they will contact you that way. If it's an emergency, just stop in the office and ask to speak with someone, and someone will help you out. Lastly, for counseling, PSAT will take place on October 13th, and that is for students in grades 9 through 11. Seniors do not have school that day. Athletics and activities. Eligibility pertains to making sure you're passing 5 one-credit classes. That's why we discussed it on the previous slide. There's a code of conduct for athletics and activities that goes above and beyond the student code of conduct, but the student code of conduct also applies to athletic events. We do follow the Ohio High School Athletic Association requirements, so just keep that in mind. They set the eligibility guidelines that we follow. On a side note, a couple things you can do to have a better experience in high school is be involved. Come to events, join clubs, join teams, try to be as involved as possible. This is the best way to get out and about. It's the best way to meet new people, and it's the best way to find, kind of a friends group to hang out with. We also encourage students to attend all of our home events. This ranges from football games to choir concerts. It's really neat to experience these in person. Thankfully, we're able to do so this year, and hopefully it remains that way. But the more events you go to, the more involved you will be. Lastly, we have a group of students here who are the super fans, and they are going to be working really hard this year to make sure we have fun events planned and there's a lot of inclusion going on. With that said, that concludes our class meeting for this upcoming school year. Thank you for your time, and your teachers will now show you our active shooter training video. Have a good year.